about a rabbi that was a prominent rabbi in a famous yeshivat Merkaz. His name is Rabbi Benyamin Aviad, very famous rabbi. He was actually born back in the year 1930, and he passed away on the 19th of Elul in the year 2004. He was about 74 years of age at the time he passed away. Now I'm recording about this today because I'm going to probably visit Merkaz Rav soon, the yeshiva in itself. He would be part of the Mועצת, Azorit, Shapir, and also part of the Mועצת Rabbanit, Reshit, so very prominent positions in return right now. It's actually interesting. He was born in Thessaloniki in Greece, so we haven't spoken about that many Greek rabbis in this series in return right. And yeah, it's very, very interesting. He'd be buried eventually at, I think, the Masot, Yitzchak, and he'd have very prominent rabbis, including among his rabbis was the famous Rabbi Tzvi Yehuda HaKohen Kook, Rabbi David Kohen, Rabbi Moshe Tzvi Neria, and during his time period there are other great rabbis he was close to, including Rabbi Nachum Rokobar, Rabbi W. Lior, Rabbi Yoshua Rosen, and Rabbi Chaim Druckman. We recorded a video on Rabbi Chaim Druckman, I believe at the time period when he passed away on, I think it was around Zot Chanukah. I think it was in 2022 if I'm not mistaken. Let's explore a bit with regards to Rabbi Aviad's life. So he was born in Thessaloniki in Greece in 1930. His father's name, I believe, was Avram. His mother's name was Regina. I think it was the El Bala family originally, if I'm not mistaken. While he was young, he would make Aliyah to Eretz Israel, and he would go live in Tel Aviv over there. Over there in Tel Aviv, he would learn, I think, in Yeshivat Kfar Hora'ah Yeshiva. I think we've spoken about this place before in this series, and I think that was under auspices of Rav Moshe Tzvi Neria at that point in time. So he'd get that. לאחר מכן נסע ללמוד בירושלים אצל הרב יעקב כלאב. He would go on to learn in Jerusalem under auspices of Rav Yaakov Kala'ab, I think of Yeshivat Mishkan Yisrael, which is in the Machon Ha'ari official area, if I'm not mistaken. And he would learn, I think, then eventually in Yeshivat Merkaz Rav, he would make that prominent move over there. And then he would be, like, say, one of the star students over there of the famous Rabbi Tzvi Yehuda HaKohen Kook, and also Rabbi David HaKohen, who is obviously nicknamed the Harav HaNazir, interesting enough. Now, I think he would actually היה חבר בגרעין ו' בתנועות בני עקיבא שנמנה על מגינה של בדיה הגלילית הסמוכות לצפת. So I think he was quite involved with בני עקיבא organization doing various different things. שבימים האחרונים לשלטון המנדט בארץ הייתה אחת מסמלי המאבק של היישוב להרחבת הגבולות, התיישבות ולעקבות בגבולות של הארץ. הרב נשא לאישה את חנה. He would get married to רבנית חנה לבית גלה, I think from the Gela family in himself. אבל התגורר ביישוב משעות יצחק בדרום. He would go on to live with his wife in the southern part of Israel in the משעות יצחק. גם לאחר המעבר לדרום, after he would actually settle there, המשיך להשתתף בקיבוץ בשיעורים של הרב צבי יהודה קוק ורב דוד כהן כל יום רביעי. I think every Wednesday he would go on to teach and be part of this faculty, very much close to Rabbi Tzvi Yehuda Kook, HaKohen Kook, and Rabbi David HaKohen. עליהם היה מגיע יחד עם הרב חיים דרוקמן ורב אליעזר ולדמן, שגרו אף הם דרום בארצות קבועות, also alongside with other rabbis like Rabbi Chaim Druckman, Rabbi Eliezer Waldman at that stage in time. So very, very interesting. Anyone tuning in live, welcome. Please subscribe to the channel. We're exploring a few highlights of the accomplishment career of Rabbi Benyamin Aviad, who was a rabbi at Merkaz Rav. Okay, so please don't forget to join our community. Okay, we'll continue over here. טרם הכנסו לתפקיד רבני, שימש הרב אביעד כמורה ללימוד קודש בית ספר האזורית בשפיר. He would go on to become an educator in a school, I think in the Shafir region. בו הייתה חווה חקלאית. I think over there was agriculture, if I'm not mistaken. לאחר זמן פנה עליו ראש המועצות אזורית שפיר, משה מושקוביץ, והציע לרב לקבל על עצמו את תפקיד הרב האזורי במועצה. So I think it will be under recommendation of Rabbi Moshe Moshkovitz, who must have been involved with this Moshav in its own right, would very much get him involved. הרב כיהן כרב מועצות אזורית שפיר במשך 46 שנה. Again, I think between the years 1955 to 2001. הרב השגיח על לימוד הצעירים ופנה אותם ללימודי מקצועות הרבנות כשכינתה ומילה. I think he would very much be involved with training with regards to kosher slaughter, with regards to ברית מילה, על מנת שבוע הזמן יהיו לזה למנהיגם הרוחניים והרבנים המבוגרים. בימי החול היה הרב עובר בין מושבי האזור לצורך מלאכתו רחוב על בבספה, ומשום כך זכה לכינוי הרב על הבספה. You actually get this nickname at that point in time, וכן לכינוי הרב הנודד. Very interesting enough in of itself. So I think במסגרת תפקידו הקים ביישוב אבן שמואל כולל אברהים. I think instead אבן שמואל neighborhood will be a כולל אברהים set up there. השתלמות רבני ושופטי האזור. So I think very much, yeah, very important. במסגרת הכולל התקיים בית ועד, there'll be like a committee, house committee, שבו התוועד מדי יום שישי רבנים כדי ללמוד תורה, לבין סוגיות והלכות בתורה שבעל פה. בין הרבנים שתפו בבית הוועד, part of this Beit Avad, this housing committee, let's just say in its own right, include other famous rabbis, including famous Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, who was a chief rabbi of Israel, we've spoken about before, the famous Rabbi Chaim David HaLevi, who we'll speak about in a few minutes, Rabbi Yosef Sharbet, who became the rabbi of Ashkelon, Rabbi Shabtai Ben Chaim, who was the rabbi of the Moutzot, Azorot Lachish, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it was in the year 1973. בזמן כהונתם של הרבנים הראשונים, הרב שלמה גורן והרב עובדיה יוסף, נבחר למועצות הרבנות הראשית בישראל. Very interesting enough. So you can see very, very important life and did huge undertakings in his own right. He was a famous rabbi that was once part of very much Merkaz Rav faculty. Let's explore some of the rabbis he was close to now over here. One of them who we spoke about just a few minutes ago was Rav David Kohen Nazir. Who was he? He was born all the way back in 1887 and passed away in 1972. He was nicknamed the Nazir of Jerusalem. He was a mocher, he was a mukubal, he was a proofreader, he was a historian of the Talmud, of Kabbalah, philosophy. He was a ram, actually, also of Yeshivat Merkaz Rav. So we're speaking about Merkaz Rav territory over there. And he also was a star student of Rabbi Avram Yitzchak HaKohen Kook, if I'm not mistaken, and had the nickname Harav HaNazir because of his Nizirut, which he would bring upon himself. Now, another rabbi that Rabbi Aviad was close to was Rabbi Moshe Tzvi Neria. Who was he? He was born in the year 1913 and he passed away in 1995. He was also a rabbi. He was Chaver HaKnesset Machanech, very interesting enough. He would be forming, I think, a Merkaz Yeshivat Bnei Akiva, and he was nicknamed the Avid Dor HaKippot HaSrugot. Very interesting enough. Rabbi Neria was very, very interesting. So we're getting some real history over here inside this video today. Was he? I think he was actually born in Lodz in Poland, if I'm not mistaken. That was part of the Russian Empire at that point in time. And yeah, very, very interesting. And he would learn Torah, I think, in Minsk, in Shkolov, if I'm not mistaken. He would actually go to Eretz Yisrael in the year 1930. That was actually the year which Rabbi Aviad was born in. And yeah, very, very interesting. I think he was quite close to Rav Avram Yitzchak HaKohen Kook over there at that point in time, so you can see. And he would learn Yeshiva Merkaz Rav, and I think he would be part of the seminar for the educators of Mizrahi. He was appointed in various different important positions, I think, with regards to Bnei Akiva organization in itself. We have to point out over there, so that's something important to just say over. Now, going back to Rabbi Benyamin Aviad, he was close to other rabbis also, including famous Rabbi Shabtai Ben Chaim. And he was a very famous rabbi. He lived between 1920 to 2011. He was actually an Iraqi rabbi, and I think he was a rabbi of the Moshab Menucha and the Lachish Regional Council. Rabbi Ben Chaim was. So he was also close to him. I think they were in a committee together, if I'm not mistaken. I think his father was actually a famous rabbi, I think Rabbi Chaim, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was actually from maybe Kurdistan, if I'm not mistaken. I would actually learn Torah there, including under auspices of Rabbi Tzemach Barzani, Rabbi, and other rabbis also. I think he would learn Torah at that point in time. I think he would be studying at one point in time in Mosul, if I'm not mistaken. He would become an educator. He would become a shochet and a bodek at that point in time. I think he would also be a moher and would also study Dainut and will complete his Dainut studies, if I'm not mistaken, very, very successfully. And he was then, I think, eventually he was appointed in the rabbinical court of Bekarah, if I'm not mistaken. And he was like among one of the great rabbis of the Kurdistan rabbinic faculty in of itself, especially Rabbi Yitzchak Barzani, Rabbi Avram Menachem, if I'm not mistaken. And he would go around to various different villages doing shechita, brit milah, weddings in of itself, and so on and so forth. So very, very interesting. And very important. Now, another rabbi that Rabbi Benyamin Aviad was close to was Rabbi Yosef Sharbit, who had gone to become the rabbi of Ashkelon over there. I think he was born in the year 1922. I believe he passed away in 2016 and was the Sephardi rabbi of Ashkelon and a member of the Chief Rabbinate Council. Very, very important positions he had himself. He was actually, Rav Sharbit was Moroccan, if I'm not mistaken, studying the Talmud Torah over there. I think his father's name was Machlov, if I'm not mistaken. He would study in Fez, in Emabanim, in the Talmud Torah over there. And then, very, very interesting. I think he would then go to Casablanca, if I'm not mistaken, spend a window of time there. I think eventually they would make their way to Eretz Israel, to the land of Israel. I think on the way to Israel, they would go through Algiers, if I'm not mistaken, or there was a connection to, I think it was in the year 1953, eventually Rav Sharbit would move to the land of Israel. Very, very interesting enough. So, and I think he was close to Rav Ovadia Yosef at that point in time, and he was working in various moshavim in Israel. When he arrived, he was in Beit Sha'an, if I'm not mistaken, and in Ashkelon, I think he would replace, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Moshe Dov Wanda, who was over there. There was other famous rabbis over there, I think, including Rav Natan Bar-John, and so on and so forth. And he was appointed a judge in the great rabbinical court. Rav Sharbit was in the year 1991, and he was also an active member of the rabbinical council of Hapoel HaMizrahi. We have to point out also. Okay, another rabbi I want to speak about over here was Rabbi Chaim Davi. Who was he? He was a chief rabbi of Tel Aviv, Jaffa, Yafo area, in its own right. He was very nice. He was born in 1924, was actually in Jerusalem under mandatory Palestine. He passed away in the 10th of March 1998. He was 74 years of age. And interesting enough, he would actually be learning in the famous Yeshivat Porat Yosef. We have to point out over there. He would go on to win the Israel Prize. Let's explore a bit about him. He would actually study under Rabbi Ben Zion Meir Chai Uziel at the Porat Yosef Yeshiva. And when Rabbi Uziel was appointed the Sephardic chief rabbi, he hired Rabbi Halevi as his personal secretary. And Harav Levi would serve in the Israeli army, the IDF, during the 1948 Arab-Israel War. He was appointed a chief rabbi in Rishon LeZion in 1951. And come on the year 1964, he became a member of Israel's Chief Rabbinate Council. He became a chief rabbi of Tel Aviv in 1973. He would actually take over from Chacham Ovadia Yosef. And Harav Levi was known for his clear-headed, let's say, approach to halakha, particularly relating to the Jewish state. He unquestionably was very, very tied to the Sephardic minhag, liturgy and halakha, but he would also, in his writings, include various Ashkenazic halachic positions and customs in his books and responsa. And he's said to be the first rabbi to issue a halachic prohibition on smoking. Very interesting enough, so that's an interesting tidbit. I think in 1997 he was awarded with the Israel Prize for his rabbinical studies, and there's a street in the Piskat Zev neighborhood in Jerusalem that is named after him. Now, he had various different published works also, we have to point out, including one of the published works was Makor Hayim HaShalem. This was a 5-volume account of Jewish law and practice with reasons, I think in easy language. Then there was a Kitzur Shulchan Aruch Makor Hayim, a 1-volume digest of the above code, giving practical conclusions. Then there was Aseh Lecharav, which is a collection responsa. The Davar HaMishpat, a commentary on Maimonides Hilchot Sanhedrin. A Torat Chayim, which is 3 volumes of essays about the weekly parshiot and the Jewish holidays, and the Mayim Chayim, which is a responsa in of its own right. So very, very interesting. Actually, I had this morning to just traveling to Jerusalem this early morning at the moment. So very, very interesting. So I thought it would be an opportune time because I'm planning to go to Yeshivat Merkaz Harav this morning to say a word about Rabbi Benyamin Aviad, just to clarify his Hilula is on the 19th of Elul. He was born in 1930, passed away in 2004. He was, let's say, a Dati Lumi rabbi without a doubt. He was close to many of the famous rabbis, especially in, and was part of Moshe Od, Yitzchak neighborhood. And he really, really born in Greece, as we pointed out before, and was famous with Rav books in its own right, and with various other, with the Ashkenazic, Sephardim, Rabbanim. He was a shochet, I believe. He was a bohel. He was very much a hands-on rabbi. He was a rabbi that was a traveler also, you could say. and really had close connections with many of the famous rabbis, Chacham Ovadia Yosef, and Rabbi Shlomo Goren, in various different points in time, and something we very much have to point out here in this class. So very interesting, friends. Anyone you are 1,000 subscribers and watch this space for some fantastic content with just a few scenes of Israel over here. This just journey to Jerusalem and enjoy a minute or two of the beautiful scenes of Jerusalem. Look at this view, friends, over here. As in our series, we're speaking about great rabbis of yesteryear, so nothing like giving a special treat of looking at Eretz Israel in its own right, the beauty of it. As we're just travelling at the moment to Jerusalem at the time of recording. Just some of the fields of Jerusalem, the bushes of Jerusalem, the trees of Jerusalem. As a plan today is to go to potentially Yeshivat Moreshet in Nachlaot, and also maybe to pop into Yeshivat Merkaz Arab today. We're just writing some Mevaseret at the moment. Yes, so on that note, I wish you all a fantastic day, and thanks for watching, and take care, friends. Have a fabulous day, everyone. Thank you. And just don't forget, everyone, if you're tuning in live at the moment, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And what we do on this channel, we record biographies of great rabbis of yesteryear. We've already recorded about nearly 1,500 great rabbanim of yesteryear. That's something we have to point out here inside the series. We do tours all over Israel. We travel around Jerusalem and various other places. We do some short clips. Also, we also record with great interesting Jewish personalities here of modern day. We've recorded about nearly 500 great rabbis or other Jewish personalities. It's something we have to point out. And we travel all over Israel today. We're going to maybe go to parts of Nachlaot, the neighborhood in Jerusalem, and another plan today is Bezrat Hashem, hopefully to go around the Merkaz Arab area. So wishing you a great day. Take care and thanks for watching.